Welcome to Shimano's in-depth video on hollow ace connections. Today we're going to be teaming up with Shimano Pro staffers Justin Poe and Ted Sakai to bring you the most comprehensive, detailed, and easy to understand video on how to work with hollow ace and Power Pro line, including how to make hollow ace to hollow ace connections, how to whip a loop, and how to make your own wind-on leaders. So let's join Justin and Ted and take the mystery out of hollow ace connections. Proudly brought to you by Shimano, makers of the finest fishing tackle in the world. Fish with the best. Fish Shimano. And by Power Pro. Experience the Power Pro advantage. Power Pro. Proven power.
Now the next thing we want to show you is how to make your own wind-on leader. This is a little bit more of an advanced technique because it does use the same things we've already showed you, but both at the same time. Now, Power Pro hollow ace comes in these smaller packages. A lot of people think, why do you need 100 yards of hollow ace? Well, these are just for making wind-on leaders. So that way you don't have to buy 3,000 yards of hollow ace to make a 25-foot wind-on leader. Ted's going to show us exactly how it's done, starting with the loop and finishing with the splicing of the fluoro into the hollow ace. So Ted probably wants to start off with about 8 feet of hollow ace line. 4 feet pretty much done for making the loop itself, and another 4 feet for basically allowing space for the fluorocarbon to go up inside the hollow ace. Now there's a cutter on the side of the hollow ace spool you just cut it with, so you don't even have to have the cutter. You want to start by taking your reverse latch needle, going up about 2 feet from the tag end, just like we did before when we were whipping the loop, and basically go towards, he's going towards the left, which would be more towards the standing line.
And again, just going in through the side.
Yeah, going in through the side with the needle, and going down towards the tag end of the line there. Once you get it started, it kind of gets going on its own. But pull it back through, and then he's going to take the reverse latch needle, and he's going to open the latch and put the standing line into the latch itself. And that latch, opening that latch and putting that standing line on there. Close the latch. You pull the hollow ace over top of that latch, and it kind of pins that line in there to where it really can't go anywhere. Then it comes out the side and pulls the loop through, and then detaches the latch. And from here, pulls it down tight on itself, adjusting the size of his loop, and he pulls it all down tight. You can make different size loops and things like that, but this one's probably about the right size for what we're going to do here. It makes it pretty easy to work with. Now you take that tag end and you kind of start working the hollow ace, and you want to go back down inside that tag end with the hollow ace itself, and you pull the standing line into that tag end. And it's a little tricky. Put the tag end into the latch needle and basically repeat what he just did and pull it back through. And from here you can go out the side of the hollow ace and pull it back through. From here he just removes the line from the latch needle. There you go. You got it now. From here, you just adjust it to where that loop kind of goes away. You got to kind of pull a little tension, get it kind of going straight, and then you can pull it straight down and tighten it all up to where all those connections kind of go away. The little loops and things like that just kind of work their way out of there. And it takes a little finesse, but it's actually fairly easy. Now the tag end here, you take and you want to do the same thing. You just pull a little bit of the tag end out of the inside of the hollow ace, and then you cut it with your scissors. And then you pull it back into the hollow ace, so it basically disappears and it's gone. And it's very, very, very smooth transition. You basically can hardly even tell it's in there. Now from here, we're going to insert our fluorocarbon leader. Now it doesn't really matter what length fluorocarbon leader you need to make. That just means you got to buy more fluorocarbon leader. So you take and you clean up the end of the hollow ace and kind of knock it down with your finger to kind of open it up, and in a sense, basically, you're trying to get the fibers to separate to make it easier to use your needle. Now, for this side of it, we're going to be using 80-pound fluorocarbon, and we're going to insert that into the hollow ace. It's very easy to insert 80-pound fluorocarbon into a 100-pound hollow ace. It doesn't really matter how much fluorocarbon leader you really want to use. We could really start with about 5 feet of fluorocarbon, just still tied off to our leader spool, to where we can make whatever size wind-on leader we want. We take and we make sure we trim that fluorocarbon tag end to where we get it on an angle. Just makes it a little bit easier to work with and insert into the needle. You have to, again, choose the proper needle size. You want to insert the fluorocarbon into the needle. It should be a real tight fit, because again, you don't want it to be sliding out of the back of the needle. Push it all the way up into the needle to where it just dead ends into the needle. And you take your 100-pound hollow ace and you kind of fray up the end. You kind of make it to where the fibers separate and get it started. You can see the frays there. You just start pushing your needle up towards the loop. And you want to pretty much, once you get it going there, you want to basically put the fluorocarbon about 4 feet inside of that hollow ace. More is fine, but really past 4 feet, you're kind of just overkill and you're just wasting your time. Even though, as you could see how easy the hollow ace is to work with, it's still just kind of a waste of time. And if you're in a hurry, you can do a lot more wind-ons fast this way. But you want to go basically up until, basically you can see where the loop starts there. You're getting close there to where the loop starts. And then you push the needle through the side, and pull it through the hollow ace, and from there you can pinch it, push it back down just to where it's right there in the hollow ace. Pinch it together with your fingers, and you pull the hollow ace back down to where it tightens up onto that fluorocarbon. And basically now it's 100% if on a straight tension pull. But from here we got to go through and clean up and make sure that knot can't loosen. Again, we are utilizing our clamping jig from Daho, just for, again, ease of use. You don't necessarily have to have this. There's other ways to do it. But for us, it's a lot easier to show you on film by being able to secure it and keep our hands in one place so it's easier to see. So you start by wrapping the hollow ace side around the first pedestal and tightening it down so it doesn't move too much on us there. And then Ted's going to take the other side, the fluorocarbon side, and pull that around the deal and tighten it back down.
Now, theoretically, you could do this between your knees if you needed to.
Yeah, you can do it between your knees. You can have a couple buddies help you. You can hold one side while another buddy's holding another side, or you can hook it onto an eye bolt in the garage. You can do a lot of different ways. There's, you don't have to have a, fancy, super intricate way of doing it. But once you get it clamped in there, you want to lay your loop puller needle parallel to the fluorocarbon and the hollow ace. And then you're going to wrap the power floss over itself, the loop needle, and the hollow ace and fluorocarbon 4 to 5 times. And you take that tag end and you put it into the end of the loop needle. And then you pull the whole loop needle through the wraps that you just made with the power floss. This basically just starts to secure it to where you can get it to stay in one spot. If not, it kind of tends to walk on you. You don't have to tighten it very, very much here. You just want to snug it up a little bit because you still want to kind of move it around and make sure it's in the right place, it's exactly where you want it. You really want it about 2 inches from the transition of the hollow ace and the fluorocarbon. And then once you get it where you want it, you tighten it down. From here, you take your bobbin tool and you roll up all the slack to get it tight to the hollow ace and the fluorocarbon. And then you start by working it in a circular motion around the whole thing. And you start getting it rolling. And then from there you can go a little faster and start swinging it. And it keeps going all the way down towards the transition of where the fluoro and hollow ace meet each other. Sometimes you got to work it a little bit, get it going. You can see it starting to trap those frays and keep those down towards the fluoro there.
You just went right over the frays.
Yeah, right over the frays. It doesn't really matter. It's not really a purpose. There's no real purpose. There's no structure there. And you take and you got to start by hand, working it back the opposite direction. Now this will take those frays and make those frays lay right down back onto the connection itself. And the glue will actually help to take some of those frays and lay those down. Once you get those rolling a little bit, you can start swinging it back the other direction. and it'll make it real nice and keep it all tight and secure. And you want to go all the way back over top of the nail knot that you already laid down, or right to the nail knot you already laid down.
Too much.
And if you go too far, you can wind it back a little bit until you get it the right spot. Now from here you want to do, just 1/2 hitch, just to tighten it up and keep it from walking around on you too much. Tighten it back down, and lock it up there.
Don't put too much on this.
Yeah, you don't want to put too much tension on the power floss, because if you break it right here, you'll have to do it all over again because you're getting ready to secure. Now you want to take about 10 or 12 inches for a tag in there and cut it off from the bobbin tool. Then you want to take and do 1/2 hitches, sequentially. You want to do 3 and 3. 3 to the left, 3 to the right. But not necessarily in that order. You want to do 1 left, 1 right, 1 left, 1 right, 1 left, 1 right. But you're going to lock it first with the tag end off the bobbin. And you're going to lock those up first. And those 6 are going to go from the tag end off the bobbin. And then once Ted's done with that, he will use the other piece of tag off the nail knot that he used and do it with that one as well. See, there's one to the right, and following up by one to the left. And what this does is it kind of keeps those ridges of those small knots as small as possible, and it keeps them kind of following the same kind of trajectory. If not, they kind of end up all on one side, and they get real bulky. You want to keep this as clean and as simple and clean as possible. Then you take the entire thing and you do a triple lock back. So you take both the tag lines, kind of walk those back against those 1/2 hitches you just did, and you tighten it up there. From here you pull tight, and you trim the tag ends off. You can trim a little bit of the flare of the hollow ace there that's kind of hanging out there. Doesn't really affect anything, it just kind of makes it a little cleaner. Now from here the glue should be able to take up the rest of that, should be no problem. So you take your glue and you basically glue the entire connection there. And again, with the Zap-A-Gap, if you use a regular, drugstore type super glue, it's going to be very, very hard and not very pliable at all. The Zap-A-Gap is actually going to soak into the power floss, and it's going to remain a semi-pliable type connection to where it's not going to be a huge hard spot on your through your guides or anything like that. And that glue should be able to keep that down like that. And basically let that dry, and you are good to go. However much fluorocarbon you need after that is completely up to you. Whether you're using 5 feet or 50 yards, it doesn't matter. A little bit of fraying in the hollow ace really makes no difference at all to the connection. So, if you find yourself doing that and you get a little bit of fray like Ted just have, don't cut it off. Don't start over. You've already done so much work. It's absolutely fine. It's not going to have any outcome in the performance of the wind on itself. The end result is you got this piece of hollow ace. You got your loop here that you're going to attach to the hollow ace that's already on your reel, and through here, this is the transition point here. So for me, I want to use about a 20-foot fluorocarbon wind on. So I'll basically pull. Okay, I'm about 6 feet tall, so 1, a little tight, 2, a couple feet for a good measure, and you can trim this, and then your only connection from there would really be to your hook or whatever you're tying on, whether it be a lure or a jig or whatever, but you're good to go. You just made basically a 20-foot wind-on leader, and you can make as many of those as you want for your upcoming trip in your spare time in your garage. It makes it really nice to be able to do. But a lot of guys, it's not really a cost issue. It's the fact that they knew that they built it themselves, and they're really excited about being able to fish something that they built themselves. It's like the old fly fishing thing, I caught that trout on my fly that I tied, kind of thing. And some people just don't trust big fish to anybody else but themselves, and they'd only have one person to blame. And then from there, they have the they have the pride in knowing that they caught their biggest fish on the wind on leader that they built themselves. So it's not only a lot of fun and something you can have full control of yourself. You can save a little money in the interim as well, and that just makes it that much better.
Fish with the best, Power Pro, and Hollow Ace, the finest braided microfilament lines in the world.